All right, so a big request out there on the survey was, guys, you got to cover the big power serve. So that's what we're about to do, Matt. Yeah, what do you think about that?
I think it's very useful to be able to just block the power and use it against them. There's different techniques, different little tricks you can use, tools of the trade to really successfully pull this off, because it's not easy.
Not easy.
Especially if they can hit the right spots. But if you got long enough reach and you react quickly, you can do a lot with a big power serve and just a little block return.
Yep, there are 9 keys, and I'll be back with key number 1.
Let's go.
Tip number 1, guys, when you're returning a powerful serve, it is so important to have a short backswing. Now, a lot of you probably already know this, but you're not doing it even though you know it. Because, first of all, I think it's a natural instinct to go big with big. Meaning if someone's hitting big at you, you just naturally tend to react big even without being aware of that, okay? So I'm gonna give you a couple tips that you can do so you can start to have an actual short backswing. The first one I want you to do is avoid getting side on as soon as you see the ball. So many people have that big serve, and then you've been taught your whole life to turn to the side and get your racket back. Now when you do that, you have a huge backswing. So what you want to do is actually keep your chest forward. So if someone's hitting a big serve at you, you don't want to go side on. You actually want to keep your chest going forward, stay more open, and just put your racket to where you can see it out in front of your hip. I'm a good 1.5 feet away from my front hip here, and now it's time to go forward. That's all I need to do. And notice that the open stance is leading the step, and that's what you're going to see a lot of advanced players do when they have a lot of power coming at them, where they're going to try and actually swing at it a bit, or where they're going to try and block and just chip it back. That's how you do it. And I recommend you just do a ton of shadow strokes. So this is a great drill to where you can actually check yourself out, make sure you're out in front, and just do this all day long until it becomes on autopilot for you, and then have a friend serve from the service line and serve some balls at you, and you will notice that you are naturally going to take the racket back further than you think you are, but it'll be a lot shorter than it normally is. So there's tip number 1. Matt will be back with tip number 2.
All right, so number 2 is minimal movement through contact with your racket. There's 2 ways to do this. We can use the continental grip like on a volley. So my favorite way to take a big serve and take it back. And you want to have more movement with your feet. So you get power from stepping in, but then when you actually hit the ball, minimal movement through contact. You almost want to freeze. Let's say, we're going to talk about aiming later, but let's say you're just trying to get this big serve to your backhand, cross court. You almost want to freeze on contact to make sure you're still pointing there with the string so the ball will actually go there. All right, so now how do you do this with Eastern grip or semi-Western grip? So I'm going to talk about Roger Federer because he does this very well. And you know, Roger, he likes to get more whippy on his ground strokes, but with a big serve, you don't have time to do that. So do like what Pete said, the minimal take back where you kind of keep the racket in front of the hip. And then what you'll see is it's almost more of a push. I know push is a bad word. People don't want to be a pusher. But with a big serve, push is really smart. Roger Federer does it. He also uses his left hand to catch it. So the swing is very simple. You just kind of push through contact, minimal movement through contact, like we said. Push through contact, and you can use your left hand to kind of guide it and catch it like Roger Federer does. Must be pretty good if he's doing it.
All right, tip number 3 is where to aim on these big serves that are coming at you. My favorite return, if you're playing singles, is to go right up the middle. Let me tell you a couple reasons why. First of all, by just aiming up the middle, it's hard to pinpoint exactly where you want to hit the ball when a serve is coming really fast. So the more conservative your target is, if you're a little off one way or the other, whether you're too early or too late, let's say you're too early, then you're going to hit the ball cross court will probably stand. Where if you are aiming cross court on a big serve and you're a little early on that, you're going to miss wide. And if you're going to try and go down the line and you're a little late, you're missing wide. So if I'm aiming right down the center of the court, there's a good chance I'm a little off of my aim, that it's still going to land somewhere in the court and I'm playing tennis. That's a good thing, right? The second part is, let's say you pinpoint it. You get it exactly where you want that return to go. Imagine this. Most people, when they're going to hit a big serve at you, they're putting all of their body, all their might in there. They're throwing a big punch. So it takes them a little micro extra second to recover. And this is when you notice the biggest serves, when pros miss, when they return right up the middle, that's where the most unforced errors happen, because they're still recovering from that big blow that they just put into the court. So if you aim it right up the middle, a lot of times you're going to put it right on their feet, and they're either going to give you a weak reply or they're just going to miss altogether. In fact, it's one of the most common mistakes that you'll see pros make on the tour after they put a serve in, when someone can connect and put it deep up the middle. So let's demo a couple of these. So guys, even doing that drill, I found a good learning experience. I noticed that when I was missing the beginning, I could immediately feel my chest come up. So to get the ball to keep coming in and still stay aggressive and get that ball right on my opponent's feet, I really focus on keeping my shoulders pushing forward, my chest pushing forward. Any little bit of this is taking that ball off. Even the slightest move like that will take the ball along most of the time. So really thinking about pushing forward with the chest was helping me. Another thing that I found very interesting is I had some that ended up right in that target area that I wanted to hit, but we noticed there was one pretty good return down the line that I wasn't trying to do, but it ended up being a good return, and one really good return cross court that ended up being pretty good that I wasn't trying to do. It kind of reminded me of something that I heard Borg say once, is that when he was playing, he would aim just beyond the service line. Anything that went deeper than that was kind of like a happy mistake. So keep that in mind. Aiming in that little box right there, you're gonna hit some great shots right at your opponent's feet, and you're also gonna hit some good down the lines and cross courts without even trying to.